in fact, live to Nikiwe Bikitsha at the Westgate Transport Hub in the Joburg CBD as that DA march prepares to get underway. Nikiwe, good morning to you. Have DA supporters started gathering just over an hour before this march is supposed to get underway?
Good morning to you, Joanne. Well, I can tell you we've been here over the past 45 minutes, and in that space of time, we've seen about a dozen buses arriving here, transporting DA members to the Westgate Hub, which is the starting point of the DA Jobs March. Those buses not necessarily full, but I would say about 200 to 300 members have now arrived. They've disembarked. They're marching and toying behind us ahead of that particular march in about an hour's time. But what I must say, though, John, I'm going to ask the cameraman to pan to my left just to show you the kind of security detail and police presence here. The gentlemen in the black suits with the green bibs, those are members of the security company which have been employed by the DA to ensure the safety of their members through this march as they make their way through the city centre. Right behind me are about a dozen police cars as well as a Nyala as well. As I speak to you, Joanne, we're seeing more and more of those DA members arriving. Those buses not necessarily full, but behind me I can hear people singing and chanting what the DA is hoping to have a sea of blue essentially taking over the city centre as they make their way towards Beyers Naude.
Have they said how many marches they're expecting today, Nikiwe?
Oh, I've been speaking to DA representatives here on the ground, and they're saying they're expecting 6,000 of their members to take part in this march. And that is a symbolic number, Joanne, to reflect on the 6 million job opportunities which were promised by the ANC President Jacob Zuma in the election manifesto when he delivered his January 8th statement. They're saying that number denotes the failings of the ANC in terms of delivering on these jobs. They're saying those are empty promises. They are demanding real jobs as opposed to job opportunities. It remains to be seen, Joanne, if that number of 6,000 will actually come to fruition, because as I say, at the moment, whilst we see lots of buses arriving, there are about 400 to 500, I would say, people at the stage. But of course, it is still an hour to go. And as we speak, more and more buses arriving.
We see a crowd of marchers behind you as well, already arriving there, Nikiwe. We've seen the ANC in court this morning asking for that order to protect its people and property. The DA then announces it's changing the march destination to Beyers Naude Square, a block away. Just how much of a compromise is this for the party?
Joanne, I'm battling to hear you as I say DA members approaching, coming closer now to our position. So I couldn't quite hear that question. But yes, the DA did, the ANC did go to court this morning, to the South Gauteng High Court, seeking what it called a protection order. It issued a statement late yesterday saying that it had received information that the DA would be deploying what it called armed security men, and people would have batons and helmets, and the ANC perceived that to be a threat as those DA members made their way towards the ANC, and they wanted some kind of guarantees that there wouldn't be any provocation or violence by the members of the DA. What the court, of course, has decided is that it has made some kind of guarantee that the DA will not be marched to ANC headquarters, Luthuli House itself, but would rather be going to Beyers Naude, which is a block away from the ANC headquarters. And they were certain that was as much security as they could provide the ANC given its concerns. And the court also found, and the DA also saying it conceded that it couldn't be, of course, held responsible about what its membership did once the march was over and members were called to disperse. And they're expecting that to be about 1 o'clock this afternoon.
Well, the ANC clearly worried about a repeat of the DA's march on Gasatu House a couple of years ago that turned violent, Nikiwe. It's also talking about the kind of private security the DA has hired to police this march, which you pointed to just a short while ago, saying that many of those private security company members will be armed to the teeth.
The DA's Musi Maimane, Joanne, has said that the security guards are not armed. I have been looking at them. I cannot see any signs of any weaponry on them, but that's just, you know, to the naked eye, that's what I can see. But there are many of them, Joanne. There are about 1,000 of them gathered here. And in fact, earlier, they simply outnumbered the numbers of DA members here. So they are taking that as a precaution, and the DA is saying, given what happened during that COSATU march in 2012, where they felt that the South African Police Services and the JMPD did not do enough to protect their members during those skirmishes which ensued between the DA and COSATU, they wanted to take preventative and defensive measures, and that's what they're doing here.
Well, many are wondering why the DA would adopt what some would call such a provocative approach to addressing the jobs issue, given what happened outside COSATU House in 2012.
And it's a question which was raised by the ANC president and president of the country, Jacob Zuma, in an interview he did with the Sunday Independent this week, saying this was a very provocative and unusual movement. They, of course, support anyone's right to protest, but why not march to the seat of government? Why march to a party headquarters? President Zuma described it as provocative and even dangerous. So we know what happened when the DA marched to COSATU headquarters. COSATU did not take kindly to that. Just to go back a bit further in history, Joanne, we know what happened when the IFP marched to what was then Shell House in 1994. Where people were killed in that particular incident. I think there's a great deal of tension and trepidation given what we know has happened in the past. So the ANC is saying that it's seeing this as a provocative move by the Democratic Alliance. But the DA is saying they're well within their rights to highlight what they see as the biggest failing of the ANC-led government, and that is to create jobs in South Africa. Our unemployment rate standing at about 24%, according to the recent data released by Stats SA this week.
We're looking right now, Nikiwe, of visuals close to where you're standing of buses having dropped off small groups of DA supporters. They're standing outside in a circle, clapping there, a little bit of dancing going on. Clearly, the updates that we are receiving say that at least 5 ANC bus loads of people have arrived in the CBD now. This is not going to be a straightforward march. Clearly, there will be some sort of challenge or some sort of counter march by the ANC to some extent in the CBD this morning.
You know, when the DA first made its plans public, made known that it wanted to march to the ANC headquarters, the ANC Secretary General, as well as the spokesperson, Jackson Tembo and Gwede Mandashe, both said that this was not a good idea, but that people from within the ANC Gauteng and surrounds would go to Luthuli House to defend the home base and headquarters of the ANC, because they perceive this as a threat, as an attack. And that's exactly what's happening again today, because we know that the earlier attempt to have that march was cancelled and it's now taking place today. So people have gathered outside Luthuli House. I'm getting reports from our team that is already stationed there that people are arriving in their droves, in their numbers. They find this to be provocative, instigating some kind of clash between the DA and the ANC members. So the police are at the ready. I've spoken to police members here. There is an incident command center right behind me, Joanne, and I tried to get a sense of what the plan was. Of course, naturally they were cagey, but what exactly they were doing. But I can tell you what I could see with my own eyes. Police getting kitted up in riot gear, which of course they would in this kind of incident. And they were holding meetings and saying that they had a large presence here, and wouldn't give me an exact figure, but say around about 1,500 police officers will be dotted throughout the city to ensure that there is no incident.
I just wanted to put our viewers in the picture as to what they are seeing right now. These are visuals from Luthuli House. They are being fed to us at this time. This is what we understand has happened. At least 5 buses spotted offloading ANC members in the last few minutes. We understand close to 500 ANC members have gathered around Luthuli House ahead of this DA march that is supposed to kick off at 10:30 this morning. There you see the barbed wire that has been installed. There is indeed a heavy police presence, as Nikiwe Bikitsha has just told us. And as you saw there, and as you will now see as the camera continues to pan, 2 stages have been erected, and they're full of ANC branding. The supporters have gathered there, decked out in their ANC regalia, holding onto their ANC flags, and they are singing pro-ANC songs. It remains to be seen what is likely to happen in the CBD this morning. Perhaps something of a crisis averted by the DA's decision this morning to march not to Luthuli House, as was the original plan, but rather to march to Beyers Naude Square, which is a block away from Luthuli House. The ANC has been in the North Gauteng High Court from 7 o'clock this morning, and they've been asking for a court order for their people and property to be protected. They do not want DA supporters within 100 meters of Luthuli House, and that is what they are asking the court to grant this morning. The DA is also in court. It says it will be fighting itself for its continued right to march this morning. It's calling this a move by the ANC to prevent the march from taking place, but certainly there's no sign that the ANC has made an effort to prevent this march in court this morning. All it's asking is that its people and property be protected, and of course the DA confirming that it will be marching to Beyers Naude Square. We continue to see those busloads of ANC supporters arrive, and there is a very strong security presence there. The DA having organised its own security presence, about 1,000 private security companies members roped in this morning to keep an eye on tight security, presumably to keep DA supporters in line this morning as that march kicks off. Roughly 6,000 people is the number that DA leader Helen Zille says she is expecting, of course symbolic of those 6 million jobs that President Jacob Zuma has said the ANC hopes to create, and we'll continue to keep you updated on the goings-on in the Johannesburg CBD just ahead of this DA march at 10:30 this morning. Stay with us.
Know more about your world.
eNCA.com